You've got all these young guys here. How has practice changed for you, going from a veteran team to having all the energy from these young guys?
Yeah. Well, I think more than anything for us, I think they come to practice, they want to get better. We have a very quiet group, which, you can't let your, personality be your competitive personality. Like, you have to be able to outwardly speak and talk and communicate on the basketball floor. We struggle with that, so it's like a chore for us to get them to talk all the time just because of the personalities. But it doesn't mean they're not competitive, because they are. But I think that's been the biggest hurdle for us. And not just our younger guys, it's really across the board. Our older guys get it, and they have, that habit program. So I think that's going to be something we just have to stay on top of and keep fighting them. Like, you got to keep fighting somebody to be able to speak, especially on the defensive end.
Matt, 2 years ago, you played Fletcher and Braden out of necessity as much as ability. Now you have them to kind of mentor two freshman guards who clearly physically look like they're ready to do this. How much more of a benefit is that you kind of have that natural progression from those two down to Jakari and CJ?
Yeah, I think it gives us that flexibility more than anything. With CJ can play 2 spots, Jakari can play 2 spots when we get into a bind, right? And obviously the ball is going to be in Braden's hand a lot. And Fletcher's a very cerebral player and understands things. So, I think young guys, it's great for them, but sometimes they don't like, now you got coaches that are always telling you stuff. And, you got players that are always telling you stuff. Everybody's always like trying to let you know what to do. But if you've ever been in that position and you had to swim out in that pond, all by yourself, like, you tend to appreciate when people are trying to help you get through it. More of a preventive measure than anything is that trying to talk people through it before it happens. So now you don't have to learn from your own mistakes, but most human beings have to learn through their own mistakes. But Fletcher's great and Braden's great in that area. They understand it. They both kind of send their message differently. Braden's can be overly competitive, which is all right. That's who he is. Fletcher's a little bit more diplomatic. I wouldn't say he's diplomatic, but he's more diplomatic than Braden. But that's okay. As long as the message is the same, you got to be yourself, and it's got to be your own delivery.
For a team with a bunch of young guys out there, some guys playing different positions, was this pretty sharp in your view? When you look at things like only 5 turnovers from your rotation guys, be efficient on offense, you rebounded.
Right.
23 to 26 in the foul line. Was this pretty clean for preseason?
Yeah, anytime, even the other night, we only had 7 turnovers at Creighton. Like, if you can keep that, in that area right there, you're always going to give yourself a chance. And then if you can rebound the basketball too, you're going to win the game. You're rarely ever going to lose if you can dominate the glass like that and only have 5 or 7 turnovers. So, yeah, we work really hard at it. Obviously, the thing that we probably got the most from this game was just their quickness, their ability to push the basketball and break us down, and then their ability to put pressure on the ball. Like, their on-ball defenders were real, and obviously we had a size and execution. We had a size advantage and an execution advantage just because we have a lot of guys that have been together before, and they understand what we run and what we do. Even though we're sprinkling in young guys, we've still been on it here for about 5 months. You should be, after 5 months, you should be able to play the game without turning it over.
53 points in the first half, but only 6 of 31 shots came at the rim. Given your personnel this year, is that a shot diet that you're comfortable with, from a process standpoint, or would you prefer the guards and wings to try to get downhill more?
I would prefer to be at the rim more. Just because we all know that there's days that your jumper doesn't go in, right? And even though we weren't, we're not crazy with 8 to 22 from 3, but we still we shot a lot of pull-ups, and that's what I talk about. I talk about a lot when we start a season. I do a seminar on shot selection, and I really try to break it down. But everybody's not the same, and so I talked about those pull-up contested 2s early in the clock are things that you don't want. But I'd be a fool if I didn't let CJ Cox shoot, right? I mean, he just has such a nice pull-up game. And so I mentioned it to him. And so sometimes when you do that, players want to think in theory, well, he does this. Why can't I do this? Well, he's proven that he can do it at a high clip. You know, our goal is not to get off a shot. Our goal is to get a really good shot from Purdue, and for Purdue. But like, we don't want to, you know, we don't want to pass up something good. And people always talk, well, pass up something good to get something great. I want to take good. It's just too hard versus like quality teams. Like, you pass up a good shot, you might never get a shot in that possession, you know, as good as that. So like, it's something for us that we want to be on the hunt. We want to be aggressive. But to your point, like, we need to be in the paint more. We need to get there more. But you know, threes have been a big part of what we do. And like, some of the guys, you know, it's hard when you play 18 people, right? So like, some of the guys, like the other night against Creighton, like, you'll have people that watch you play that I say, hey, like, you played UConn, like, why did you like not shoot threes? And then like, right away, they shouldn't be allowed to talk about basketball, and they should be out of the equation. So we got them out of the fray, and they can't communicate with us. But Creighton did the same thing. They played in a deep drop with an elite defender, and so Braden's going to get more shots. We played Arizona last year. They played in a deep drop. Fletch and Braden got more shots because of that. Well, that's what they want to give. They want to give that up because, like you said, they want you out of the paint. So analytically, I don't care. Like, you know, if you're just overpowering where you can get wherever you want at any time, then it doesn't matter. You're just the best team in the country. But very few of us are that way. So you got to work towards getting quality shots, you know, no matter where they come from. But a big piece of it is what the defense gives you. So when the defense gives you that, take it. You know, now they're like, well, is that what you're going for? They act like you're pushing a button. Like, okay, I want a 3, A. Okay, I want to pull up, B. Like, it just doesn't work that way. It's competition. But schematically, this is what they're giving you. And what they're going to give us, we're going to take, as long as the person that's taking it, you know, has shown that he can consistently make it. I hope that makes sense.
It looked like you were making a purposeful effort to get Jacobson the ball around the rim. Are you trying to get him reps as a low post scorer to kind of see what you got there and accelerate his development a little bit?
Yeah, you know, he just needs to get, you know, stronger. It reminds me a lot of, you know, like Juwan Johnson at that age. He gets his hands on a lot of things, but he's not catching a lot of things, or he's not getting that rebound. He's tapping things. He has to stop tapping things and get things with 2 hands. He just has to keep doing heavy ball work. And but no, when he's there around the basket and he's got a real post up, he's got the guy squared up, like, he needs to get the basketball, like any other person when he's, you know, 5-6 feet away from the basket. But I don't think it's like a bread and butter for us right away. Like, no way, right? But like, I think it's something where he really works on his dives and his seals. Now he can play with his jump hook, and he can get close enough to where we got to get him some alley-oops, we got to get him some flip-ups. He's got to get on the glass, he's got to run, and it's hard, man. You know, it's hard. He's very promising. Him and Raleigh Burgess are both promising big guys. And but you know, it takes a lot of work. I think a lot of times when you look, and I mentioned Juwan Johnson or even Zebo, you want to look at them for when they're 22. Right. And like, well, he's not quite like them. No, he's not quite like them when they're 22. But they do have similarities when they're both 18, 19 years old. And like, now you got to be able to grow through it. Raleigh's got more physical piece to him. Daniel's got more length, and so, but they're both quality players. And it's one of those deals where they're both going to be really good. You just, you know, when are they going to be really good, right? You just got to keep working and stay positive and keep them on edge.
You're not asking either Jakari or CJ to be a 35, 40-minute player right now. It's more like that combination. Mm-hmm. Especially as freshmen, how is that allowing them to, I guess, maximize what you're asking them to give you in those minutes?
Well, I think first of all that they've got themselves in this position. This goes for any players that are out there. Like, learn to be a two-way player. Like learn to affect the game if your shot doesn't go in. And like, both of those guys can hawk the ball. They still have to learn the nuances of defense and understand different actions and different things. They still get behind some plays in the defensive half court. But they both can go pick up the ball. They both can guard people. They both want to guard people. And then they're students of the game. They listen. They're wanting to get better, but they can make shots. You saw Jakari a little bit today, get to the rim and get a layup. He got that pull up. He made a 3. CJ's pull-up game speaks for itself. Like, he's a threat, and you need that, like, especially late clock, right? You got to get somebody that can go make a play besides Braden at that point. But they both have put themselves in a really good position with that. And then a lot of what happens, I think, because like you guys will like, right, this guy will start or this guy will start. You got to form your team through your three guys, right? We're forming our team through Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Trey Kaufman-Renn. They've put themselves ahead of everybody else. Doesn't mean like other people don't have value, because they do. Now, like, who's the best with them? I think that's where Lance really helped us last year, because Lance was the best. He wasn't the only player we had, but he was the best to go into that fray. And then Mason was fabulous. He's probably the best sixth man in the country, you know, coming off the bench. And obviously Zach. Who's the best with Zach, right? And that brings your value up as you start to help everybody else. So now those two guys have really been good for Braden and Fletch. They both of us give us another defender. They both give us quickness. They both give us a ball handler. And I think that's really, really going to help us. Now we got to get like that other spot there, right? We got to be able to get that to where, like, how productive can we be? Who's the most productive? Maybe it's different game to game, week to week. I don't know that answer. I like all the guys that we have there. I think we have a lot of guys to throw at people, but I also think we got some people on that front line where we're going to need them at times, but we're not going to always need them, just because we have that depth, and just like I talked about.
How will you evaluate your team defensively in this game, knowing that it was a different competition level?
Yeah, I think it starts with being able to handle the pressure. I thought those guys, right away I said to those guards whenever they got it, like, hey man, like, those guys are real up there on the ball. Like, they were quick, they were hawking the basketball. So that's the first and foremost for me in terms of just, you know, seeing it live during the game before watching the film, is I thought we did a good job of handling somebody that's going to come after us and just hawk the basketball. More than that, they ran more of a 5-out, kind of a spread, and we were able to kind of stay in, and then they never got going shooting the basketball, so we never had to maneuver and adjust to that. So, but we'll see. Like, we'll watch film and kind of go from there. I talked to our guys about it. I said, like, you'll face so many people where there's like more similarities than differences, but you're still going to have differences. And now each style can you know, kind of show some weaknesses where the previous style didn't.
Yeah, through a couple of exhibition games, you played several different guys at the center spot. I guess just what have you learned about that position for your team right now?
I think it's hard because, like, you look at all the guys that play. Daniel played 14 minutes, Raleigh played 12 minutes, Caleb played 12 minutes, Will played 10. Like, and so it's really hard to kind of gauge. I think more than anything is we have a lot of options. We have a lot of depth there, but nobody's really like separated themselves, right? And so it's hard to comment on. You like them, but you want to see more consistency from them. I think that's the key. You always give kind of a wait and see for somebody who hasn't done it yet. The people that have been through it before, they should have an advantage there. They should be able to take care of that. But we also, like, when we go with like two like 4 or 5s like Trey and Caleb together, if you have an elite center, like, we don't have the size to combat that as well. So I think first and foremost, like, kind of thinking like, who can we be functional with offensively, and who can rebound? Like, who can get us some. It was good to see Will tonight. He got some good rebounds in there, but who can rebound at a high level for us, defend? I think that's the person that'll end up separating herself. I think you can kind of look there and say, who's got the highest ceiling? I think that's, you know what I mean? Like, we got some young guys with very high ceilings, but we got to win our game on Monday, right? It's Monday, right? Right?
Yeah.
Come on, don't shrug. You know this answer. So yeah, I think that's. But I'm pleased. Sometimes there's not separation. It doesn't mean that they're not doing well. Like, Jakari really separated himself with just being a two-way player and handling the basketball and kind of given what we need in that spot. But yet, if we play some traditional Big Ten teams, you know, we can play Braden and play like 2 wings together, right? Well, like that's going to be all right. But if you come and press us and do stuff like we've proven, a couple years ago, that didn't work. That did not work.
Jim, go ahead, Sam.
Going back to you saying you evaluate people as 22-year-olds when they're 18, I think back to Trey Kaufman, who redshirted, and then he wasn't even playing a lot, but he told us he was an all Big Ten caliber player in the future.
Right.
And he just stayed patient. Last year, obviously, he didn't have the opportunities with Zach, but how are you seeing the payoff now with what this season could be, now that he's going to have a chance, opportunities to have more games like this?
Yeah, like he's, the thing that he's probably done better than anything he's done in the past is his passing. And you didn't really see a lot of him today, but he's really passed the ball well in practice. And we double him a lot, because we double the post. They didn't post up tonight, so you don't see it. Creighton posted up a little bit, so you didn't see it much. But we go after, trying to keep the ball out of the paint, so he's done a great job just passing and taking what's there. He's put a lot of time into his game. And that's the thing that really, you gotta have it, right? Like, you gotta have a game. You just can't sit there and say, hey, I work hard, but there's gotta be some results somewhere. Because Trey works really hard and puts in a lot of time, but you could see it in practice. He would score on Zach in practice. He would make plays, but we didn't run a lot for him. In the NCAA tournament, we went to him a couple times more. Last year against Illinois, if he got it going a little bit, we'd run a couple more things, but we were pretty content to run things for Braden and Zach occasionally, for Fletch. So I think he'll get more. I don't think he will get more. He'll get the basketball a lot more. And then it's now, how to utilize him, because I think they got to make a decision as a post-up forward. You know what I mean? Like not everybody posts their forward. So we used to do it with Biggie, and do that and really have that matchup to where now you got your 5 low down there in a great rebound spot. If that guy wants to come over, you got those easy dump down, spray outs. So I'm looking forward to it. I think he's going to have a fantastic year.
That kind of segued into my question. I think he got 3 wide open threes in the first half, passing out of help. Are his instincts there?
Yes.
Where they need to be?
Yes, without question. He's got a good feel of what's going on. I think it's just kind of slowed down for him more than anything, how things come at him. And I always said that when we would scrimmage, we'd scrimmage and we'd double him all the time. So I said, hey, you got to be a passer here. That's just what they're giving us. No different than if somebody plays us on a drop. It's just a 2-on-2 game right there. You're not going to get those threes from those wings right there when you do that. So no, he's done really well. He's worked really hard.
Last one.
CJ seemed to kind of fall into your lap there late in the recruiting cycle, and you mentioned earlier his pull-up game and being really confident in that ability already as a freshman. Was that what caught your eye initially with him when you got a chance to see him, and is that something you already have confidence in to run sets for him as a freshman?
Yeah, no, I was recruiting another kid, and he just happened to play against him last game of the summer, and I saw him, so then I got with everybody and just started talking, and then I got the huddle password from his prep school coach, and so I watched 6, 7, 8 games and watched him play. And I started to dig into his background and just how he was as a person. And Dad was a great guy, prep school was a great guy, AAU guy was a great guy. Everything checked off. Everybody said the same thing about him: tough, hard nosed, education's important. Obviously, we really beat 2 or 3 Ivy League schools for him, but he could make a pull-up, he could guard, and he could handle the basketball, and he was a team guy. So the thing that caught my eye was, besides him playing well in that game, he had 26 in the game, was after it was over with, everybody on the team hugged him. And so I was like, what in the hell are we hugging somebody for after an AAU game on July 27th? I was right away, so I called the guy. I said, what's the deal, man? I didn't know him. I didn't know his AAU coach. And he played for Middlesex Magic on the East Coast. And he said, oh, he's the greatest kid ever. We love him. He's been in our program since he was a 3rd grader. He's worked hard. He's gotten better. So then he played with Brad Stevens' son the year before that. So then I was trying to get Brad Stevens' son to walk on. He went to Notre Dame to walk on instead. So I called Brad, and he said, well, Brady will know better. So then I got Brady to talk to me. And so I got somebody close to the situation that knew him as a person and everything. And so then I recruited him. And then I was just honest right there. I said, hey, I've recruited this other kid, and if he doesn't take it, I'm going to offer you a scholarship. And I said, if that turns you off, then just being honest. And then it just took too long for the other kid. He was just taking forever. And I was like, man, I really like this guy. I really think he would fit here, and I think he would be a great player for us. So he didn't fall in my lap. I actually worked for it. So you can call it falling in your lap, but there was a lot of hours right there. So, but no, you got to be able to sit there and say, of all the things that are important to you, he checks those boxes. And he's not ranked, and he's only getting offers from the Ivy League, and it doesn't matter. Being ranked doesn't matter. Who's recruiting you doesn't matter. Like, it fits. It's winning basketball. It's being around somebody that wants to get their education at Purdue, wants to play at a high level, wants to compete, and he's just came in and worked. He's one of those guys that carries a big stick and keeps his mouth shut, which you can't have enough of guys like that. All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You were watching Aaron Fine in that game, right?
Huh?